time. And so there could be a world, right, which was empty of physical objects,
yes,
in which there was a temporal sequence.
right. I'm not arguing he's a physicalist regarding time. He holds the Lorentzian relativity that time is absolute.
And so if
but time is only absolute because it's God's time. There wouldn't be time on his view of that.
Are you a believer, B3?
I'm defending Kalam, but
no, he holds to a view of absolute time, even with regard to the physical.
He just wrote a whole thing. He just spent 10 years writing God on abstract objects. He doesn't believe anything.
I'm not talking about abstract objects.
Right, but time is a concrete thing in his view. So not only is there no time, there's nothing.
But does that include a creator God, B3?
I think there's probably something like God. I'm not going to commit to theism. I'm on the fence.
I see.
But no, Craig does not believe there would be time without God. That's just
it doesn't matter whether he believes it or not, right? He's committed to it, because if he thinks, right, that time is not relational, right, then it follows that there could be a world in which there are no concrete objects, but nonetheless there could be time.
Sure, he does believe that there is time without concrete objects because God.
No, God is a concrete object.
Oh, okay. So then you're right. Yeah. So then without God, he doesn't believe there'd be any time or anything.
Yeah, but the point is, if he believes in absolute time, right, there isn't any logical bar to there being time in a world without concrete objects.
You might say there's no logical bar, but his view isn't that there could be such things.
It doesn't matter whether it's his view or not, right? There's no contradiction in the view, right? He affirms absolute time, right? Mm-hmm. And it follows, therefore, that you could have the passage of time in a world without concrete objects.
I would say because he holds to the Leibnizian cosmological argument, he doesn't think anything could exist without God.
Okay, that's to give an independent argument, right?
Well, we're just talking about his belief.
Yeah, No, I'm not just talking about his beliefs. I'm talking about what he's committed to.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he can appeal to the logic. I don't think he can appeal to the Leibnizian cosmological argument apart from its weaknesses, right? Because the fact is that he affirmed the substantive nature of counterpossibles, right? So it doesn't matter whether he has an independent argument.
Craig believes God is timeless sans the universe, so he doesn't believe that time could persist at all.
I understand that he believes that God is timeless sans the universe.
Okay.
Right? I'm simply saying that if you reject relationism about time, right, it follows then that you could have a world without concrete objects in which there's the passage.
Why does that follow? He holds a different view of time. Just rejecting relationism.
I'm saying that's what follows from accepting the idea of an absolute time.
What is your argument that that's what follows? I don't see that.
That's what it means for time to be absolute, is that it's not actually required that there's a relation between concrete objects for time to be able to pass.
No, but that's not what it means on his view. So if that's your view, you need to argue for it. That's not what he believes.
My view, right? That's what it means for there to be absolute time.
Not on his view. So how are you establishing that?
Again, he says that he rejects relationism, right?
Okay.
Relationism is the view that in order for there to be a temporality, there has to be a relation in time between two concrete objects, right? If you reject that, right, it just follows that you can have time in an empty world.
Okay, so on your view, you could have time in an empty world.
It's not a question of it being my view, right? I'm just saying that follows from affirming absolutism about time.
I don't think it follows because he doesn't hold that view. Are you saying he's in logical contradiction?
I'm saying that if he rejects relationism, right, that commits him to the view that there can be time in an empty world.
only if he believes there could be an empty world without God. Nothing is not an empty world. It's nothing.
It doesn't matter whether he thinks that there could be an empty world without God, since he affirms counter possible.
See, but with nothing, there's no possibles on his view.
He doesn't have a problem with postulating counter possibles, right? Because he says that if God did not exist, right, then there would not be objective morals and duties. Right?
Okay.
Now, he doesn't say that's a vacuous counter possible.
Oh, I see
right?
what you mean. Yeah,
he says it's a substantive claim. So
it's
if
a possible, it's a possible because it's not logically contradictory.
Well,
That's
what he would say is that, yeah, he would say that it's possible because it's not logically self-contradictory, right?
That's all he means by it.
Yeah. So therefore, it's not logically contradictory that there could be an empty world, right? And because it's not logically contradictory that there's an empty world, it follows that you could have time if you're an absolutist in an empty world.
Okay, and how does that I mean, forgive me, I forgot why you raised that. Why does that hurt what I'm saying?
I don't know why it's supposed to hurt anything.
I mean, why does it damage my argument at all?
What argument?
About how on your view we were getting into the nitty gritty of does something come into
saying all I was saying was that Craig is mistaken when he says, right, that a person who thinks that the universe could begin to exist without a cause is committed to violating the metaphysical principle that something can't come from nothing, right? That's false.
Oh, because you say that nothing could still have time in it.
No, what I'm saying is that the universe has a first moment of time,
mm-hmm.
right? That doesn't imply that there's a state of nothingness from which it emerges, and therefore it doesn't violate.
It does on his view, but you're saying that his view is wrong.
Well, I'm saying that that's just a confusion, right?
So you're saying he's wrong. You're saying he's wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong. I said that he's wrong several times. He's wrong when he says that a person who thinks the universe can begin to exist without a cause violates the metaphysical principle that something can't come from nothing.
Because there
it doesn't violate
the absolute time.
No,
because you're saying I'm having a hard time following this. Like, why?
I'm saying that there's no state of nothing prior to the first moment of.
Because there could be absolute time?
No, because time has a beginning.
Well, everyone agrees that time has a beginning in this trilemma. Like his view, my view, everyone's saying time has a beginning.
For the principle that something can't come from nothing to be violated, right? It'd have to be the case that there's a prior state of nothingness, right, in time before the first moment of time. Right?
Well, there wouldn't be.
But a person who says that space-time has beginning, right, is not committing to that view. In fact, he's contradicting that view. Because he's saying there's no time before the first moment of time, right? Which is an analytic claim.
Yep. There being no time doesn't mean things can't pop in from the void.
They don't pop in from the void because there's no void prior to their existence.
Well, what is prior to their existence?
There's nothing prior.
Exactly. There's nothing. So it is popping into existence from nothing.
That is reifying nothing.
No, it isn't. I mean, I'm not calling it a something. I'm saying there's nothing before it, and now there is something. So you might not like the phrase popped in.
If you say there was nothing before the universe, that just means the universe always existed, right?
No, it doesn't. Not what I'm saying, not on what Jack's saying.
At all points in time, the universe existed.
But there's still a point of time at which there's no prior points of time.
Yeah, but how is that relevant?
So it's not past eternal.
It doesn't matter whether it's past finite. The point is that the universe has always existed, right? There's never been a time at which the universe did not exist. So there was no nothing prior. There's no nothing prior to the universe out of which the universe
You just
came.
said there was no nothing. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
You're calling nothing something. There was nothing before. There is no before if you think time is tied up with the universe.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. You think you're contradicting me?
So if there is no before, then there's simply nothing.
Yeah. So there's no state of nothing.
So when the universe has its first moment of time, it has come from nothing.
Look, coming from nothing implies that there's some state of nothing before.
No, it just means there's nothing out of which it came.
So so it didn't come from anything. To say the universe came from nothing is the same as saying it did not come from anything, right?
Right, and it still has the first moment of time, though.
Right. So it didn't come. So look. So it did not come from anything. You agree?
So wait, I just have a quick question, Josh. Are you saying that a state is not something?
I'm saying there was no state.
Yeah, Josh is stating the principle. What Josh is saying is that the principle that something can come from nothing implies a change in state. But given that there's no nothing prior to the first moment of time, there's no change in state, and therefore the principle isn't followed.
Sure, but my objection was that if the universe can do that, you might not like the word "do" there, but if the universe can have that first moment without any cause or explanation, then if you establish that that is true, then God could have the same thing could apply to God.
Look, the only sense in which, it's not an objection to God's existence, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, God could have existed God could have had a first moment to existence. Nothing we're saying objects to that, so I don't know why you're bringing that up. It's completely irrelevant.
Point I was making. I was saying that if you bite the bullet and say the universe can do that, then because nothing doesn't discriminate. If a universe can just have a first moment of time without a cause, then all you've done is gotten back to square one, where God or the universe could be the first thing that came into existence without a cause.
How? Look,
there's nothing privileged about a multiverse or a universe.
If that's the case, then the cause of the universe wasn't a spaceless, timeless, extremely powerful entity.
Yes,
right?
Yes, it would be, because God is the universe.
You just said it could be the case on that reasoning that God came into existence from without a cause, right? But if that's true, and that's true of the universe as well, then it doesn't follow that God caused the universe.
No, that's not what I said. I said if you bite the bullet on accepting the fact that things can just causelessly start, then an omnipotent being could start that way who thought it was omniscient.
Yeah. So if
this would not establish classical. It wouldn't. Right. So
if it's the case that God came into existence without a cause and God began to exist, then the first premise of the Kalam is false. Don't you understand that?
Oh yeah, I admit. I said that if what you're saying don't interrupt. I'm answering.
So then the Kalam is not sound. So then the Kalam is not sound, which is what I said.
I'm not arguing that it's sound in this case. I'm saying if you succeed in demonstrating.
So why did you respond?
Who am I talking to who can't have a back and forth?
Shows that the Kalam is false. Why did you respond with no?
Who am I talking to?
Me.
You can't. You keep interrupting when I begin to answer. Like when I start to answer, you go talking again.
Yeah, that's because I'm trying to understand where you were in the dialectic, right? Because
you have to listen to know that.
I'm trying to get my bearings here, because when I said that if you end up conceding that God came into existence. There was a first moment of God's existence, and God came into existence acausally, right? If you're conceding that, then the Kalam is unsound, which is what I said. I said the Kalam is false, and then you rejected that. So I don't know why the fuck you rejected that.
Well,
And you proceeded to give reasons why you rejected that.
I don't think the Kalam is necessarily false. I don't necessarily think it's true. What I'm saying is that if you're going to go to that length to show that that first premise is false, then you've opened yourself up to a world where anything can begin to exist, including something like God. It wouldn't be eternal and it wouldn't be omniscient because it would have false knowledge.
Yeah, but you're changing the subject.
You're interrupting, and that is the subject that I arose in the first place.
You're changing the subject because the subject was how to defeat the Kalam.
No, the
and
subject
so that's
was,
a defeater.
We were talking to a girl named Angel, and then I said to Jack, I have another problem with your objection. This has nothing to do with me trying to defeat Kalam. You got to pay attention.
I don't know. Well, maybe I wasn't listening. Because I thought the subject was, what are the problems with the Kalam? And you're saying that...
That was before. The new subject is if you take the tack of defeating the first premise by saying things can begin without a cause, all you've done is, if you've established that, then you could still have a world. This world still could have been created by that all-powerful, omnipotent God. It just wouldn't be an eternal God.
Yeah,
there's nothing privileged about a physical multiverse popping into being.
Look, you just seem to be saying something trivial. Like if the first premise of the Kalam is false, and not everything that begins to exist has a cause, then something that could have began to exist that didn't have a cause could be God. Yeah,
you're going to such a huge metaphysical length to disrupt that first premise that you've opened yourself up to ridiculous things that anything could begin.
That's
to
not a ridiculous. That's not. I don't see what's ridiculous about that.
Because part of your motivation in defeating Kalam and part of your worldview is that there can't.
Oh my God! There's no motivation there. There's no motivation there. It's just you're saying. Look, it's just trivial what you're saying. If there's If it's the case that the first premise is false, then that just means there exists something such that that something didn't have a cause. Now, if that's true, I guess it's possible that it's God. It's also possible that it's anything else. And for you to say that that's ridiculous would require some sort of argument, right? Not some fucking appeal to incredulity.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. That's my opinion.
Oh.
But
okay. I don't think that makes sense.
You may think it's trivial. I don't think it's trivial.
You don't think it's trivial to say that if it's not the case that everything that begins to exist has a cause, then there's something that began to exist that didn't have a cause. You don't think that that's trivial?
No, because most people, when they hear that, you're interrupting it. Because most people, when they hear that objection, they think it's somehow shores up the naturalist worldview, but it really undercuts it. Because once you've removed any causal requirement for things happening, you've just opened yourself up to all types of supernatural things.
It doesn't speak to naturalism. It doesn't say anything about naturalism, right? It's just compatible with the natural world being the thing that exists without a cause.
The natural world embodies the causal principle. So when you undermine the causal principle, you're opening up Pandora's box to every sort of supernatural reality.
I'm not following that inference, but what I'm saying is the natural world could be the thing that exists, that there is nature at all, or a universe or anything, could be the thing that exists without a cause, which is what rejecting the first premise amounts to. There exists.
All I did was try to show the cost of doing that.
Yeah, there is no cost of doing that. You thinking that there is a cost is just some. Look, the cost.
Come on.
The cost is just that there exists something such that that something didn't have a cause.
Abandoning the causal principle opens you up to believe you can have any ridiculous, incoherent thing popping into reality.
That doesn't follow.
Well, maybe not incoherent, but you can have any supernatural, non-physical thing.
Or physical thing, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
In order to decouple something causally speaking that would come into being within our existing universe that has an existing arrow of time Yes. Fuck you.
The way you were just saying that, you made it sound like it's coming into existence within our universe, but that's not what we're talking about.
Well, that's what you're saying as some kind of attempt at refutation to the
I don't think
reality
you understand the point.
of the beginning of the universe. And what you're saying is that, oh, if you do that, that means supernatural stuff could happen and anything could come into being without causation.
Right, that's my point.
And we're not saying
Fucking
that.
threw glue all over my.
We're talking
Yeah.
about.
Did you see?
Are you afraid of understanding?
Shut
Are you
up.
afraid that this a realization of how physics and the universe work might somehow
physics and the universe are not going to have any application to that state where things come into being from nothing?
We're talking about the arrow of time beginning, the beginning of the universe in terms of the flow of time.
Well, now you sound
That's
like
what they're talking. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about the beginning of the
It
universe.
sounds like what you're doing now is switching over to like an eternal B block universe.
By the way, just so you guys know,
We're just
B3
talking
is
about
also
the beginning of time, right? And the thing is I don't understand how you can step back from the arrow of time from its initial point and say that there was some kind of causation, because that's what you're doing with your religion and your creationist views.
Well, I mean,
right?
if you don't know that,
And the thing is about that. Sorry, I'll let you talk. Sorry.
So if you're not aware of this, most of the naturalists who oppose Kalam don't oppose it on the first premise. They accept the causal principle. You don't have to be a theist to say that the causal principle holds.
That's right, and so do I. So this is where your misunderstanding is. You seem to think that when time came into being, there had to be a cause. If there had to be a cause, then there had to be a before. If there had to be a before, there had to be an arrow of time that steps back a notch and is in alignment with the vector of our arrow of time, right? And understand that for stuff to come into being post beginning of time, with no causation, they'd have to be almost their own distinct arrows of time that would come into being, and that's not how what's fucking happening. Unless you're talking about theories to do with alternate universes and the foam of virtual particles and stuff like that.
So earlier in the discussion, I qualified all this by asking Jack, we're talking about on the A view. We're not talking about on like a block B universe that's eternally present but has an internal physical dimension of time. We're talking about a more.
What does Taggart have to do with this? None of what he says has anything to do with what you're supposing about a theological explanation of the beginning of the fucking universe.
Because the way you're describing it is that this universe is always there, and that the first part of time is just an internal quality of it. We're talking about a first moment of time that has
internal qualia. Is that what you said?
An internal quality. That time is an internal dimension of
your ass.
Quality, not qualia.
The theist. Fuck off.
What was someone else broke in?
I was clarifying what you said. He thought you said qualia, and you said quality.
Yeah. So my only point in breaking in the other conversation was that if you abandon the causal principle, then it'd still have a theistic universe. It would just be a different kind of God. It would be an uncaused being.
Again, we are not abandoning causation. Why do you keep putting that out there? Why do you keep poking that straw man? Right? In order for that to be the case, you have to have a flow of time in order for state to change.
Well, I would just to raise one comment.
You're going against all we know about the universe and physics, man.
Well, number one, if you're going to say that that's all we know about the universe, that would be the fallacy of composition, because we're not talking about the universe, talking about outside of the universe. Secondly, I don't think that you need time for causation. Common example is you have simultaneous causation. If the universe was eternal, you could have had eternally causal relations in it. You don't.
There's no such thing as simultaneous causation.
You don't think so?
I know so.
And who is this now?
This is me. This is Brenda.
Brenda. Okay, so imagine a universe always existing with the law of gravity, and people are attached to the Earth. They're attached to the Earth by the cause of gravity, but eternally. Why is that not eternal or simultaneous causation?
Simultaneous causation is a temporal relation, so it doesn't help.
Why doesn't it help?
Because it's not the same thing as atemporal causation.
No, but all I'm establishing is that causation doesn't have to be temporal.
It is temporal if it's simultaneous.
But it's not one thing following from another in a temporal series.
It doesn't matter, right? The objection to atemporal causation is not that simultaneous causation and backwards causation are also objectionable, right? It's simply that there's a problem with atemporal causation.
I mean, I don't have a response on that because I didn't put any thought into it right now, but maybe I could come up with an atemporal causation.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe you can. That's fine. I'm just saying that the response that Craig makes to the objection about atemporal causation, where he appeals to simultaneous causation, doesn't actually address the objection, because the objection is specific to the idea that there can't be causes outside of time, right?
Right.
And so if you say simultaneous causation is possible, the objector can accept that, right? But that's still a temporal relation.
Would you agree that logical inferences, or I'm trying to put this the right way, would you agree that in an atemporal world, no time, no space, that logical things would still hold? Logical laws would still hold?
Yeah, I would. Although I guess Craig, it's not clear whether Craig could commit to that.
Only with God he would, a timeless God. He wouldn't commit to that without God, because he doesn't.
Yeah, but I
abstract
don't
knowledge.
really understand that, because if he's rejecting divine conceptualism, I don't really understand why God existing would change anything.
Well, he doesn't believe abstract objects exist. He's like a fictionalist or some. So I don't know if he commits to any view, but he lays out all the other.
But I mean, I don't really understand his view, right? But it seems like he would have to say that in the empty world, there wouldn't actually be the law of non-contradiction wouldn't hold.
Maybe I don't know how he would put it. I'm just trying to think if these logical truths have any sort of causal quality in the absence of time. They do have.
No,
relations.
I don't think he can appeal to that route either, because he isn't able to demonstrate that there's some kind of that there's some kind of logical entailment, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't think that abstract objects involve causation at all.
No. Well, there's that, right? But but he understands God to be a concrete object,
yes,
right?
Yes.
The problem is that you can't say that the relation of an atemporal cause is a logical relation, right? Because that would imply that it's logically entailed.
Right, and then there wouldn't be any moment; it would always exist.
Yeah, but it would also imply that there'd be some kind of contradiction, right? If there'd be some kind of contradiction if the universe existed without God.
Sure. And so you hold to the view of the other person who was talking that there is no causality without time.
I do hold that view, yeah.
Okay.
But
that's something I think about more to come
yeah,
up with.
but I do think that logical relations are atemporal.
Sure, me too. So then your view of the universe is that do you think even if it's not B, then it still is just if time is not on the B model, there's still no causality to the first moment?
Oh, I don't take a position on whether the universe had a beginning or not. I just don't think that the Kalam. I just think that the Kalam argument fails for a number of reasons, one of which is that it presumes some kind of atemporal causation.
Well, even if the universe doesn't have a beginning, it still has to have a pre-classical sort of timeless state. Right?
No.
If our current cosmology,
No, I don't think that cosmology has any bearing on it.
so if the cosmology shows that there's a first point, then anything before that would have to be timeless or nothing.
What I'm saying is there's no nothing before that that's implied, right? I'm saying
before it would just be nothing or a timeless state if there is a first moment of time.
So, yeah, there isn't anything before the first moment of time if there is a first moment of time, or the universe doesn't have a beginning.
Okay. And you're willing to swallow all the problems with infinite regression, if you were to decide for an eternal past?
I've never seen an argument that I've never seen a successful argument that there's some kind of contradiction entailed by the idea of the universe being past infinite. It seems like when Craig tries to argue against that, he basically just appeals to intuitions.
Well, he gives a whole bunch of arguments that you couldn't traverse an infinite series of events. That's sort of.
B3, can you change your input volume in Discord to be greater? Because you're really hard to hear.
Yeah, I keep getting that. I'll try. I think it's up all the way. Let me see.
I think
you put on mic boost.
I got the amplifier. I'll put that.
Is he hard to hear? Because he doesn't sound hard to hear to me. Why is that?
No, he sounds hard to hear to me as well.
200%.
Yeah, I was about to say what Ludic just suggested. Flip through your Windows settings, and there is like a microphone boost setting that's usually pretty good.
See, I'm on the Android app. Sorry.
Oh, well.
I don't know anything about the Android.
Can you still change? You can still change your volume, can't you?
I think so. I'm looking.
In the settings, voice and video, and input.
He says he already has that one on.
Well, people have said that I'm hard to hear sometimes, and then it goes away when I rejoin. So maybe you should just try.
You guys just aren't close enough to the phone. That's all, Jack. Your faces aren't close. Your mouths aren't close enough to the microphone.
No, but he sounds okay to me. So
he sounds fine. The clarity part is fine. It's just the amplitude, the volume level.
Yeah, I don't see a voice input.
And that is a relative thing to everyone else talking. So
is it better now?
Sounds soft and everyone else is louder.
How about now? Any better?
Better.
All right, yeah, that's the amplifier app because I don't have an input setting on the
yeah, that's actually much better. Good job.
Okay. I didn't want to over amplify it and be loud, so I left it on like 10. But all right.
Hey, Jack, what do you think about Craig's philosophical argument for the impossibility of an actually infinite past?
What's wrong with actual infinites?
I'm not sure which argument you have in mind. I thought he tried to render several.
Craig he argues this one conceptual argument that just seems so stupid, like he doesn't understand the concept of infinity, but he argues that you can take infinity and subtract infinity, but you don't, and you can get 0, but you can also take infinity and subtract infinity and get 3. And he says
the actual infinite is impossible because it yields contradictory answers, basically. And so the past can't have an actual infinite number of units, therefore it has to have a beginning, basically.
So I was in the middle of speaking and you cut me off.
I'm sorry.
So he says that you can get you can generate contradictions from, and he said for that reason mathematicians simply disbar infinite sets from engaging in normal sort of calculations, normal arithmetic, and he thinks that this is just arbitrary. But it's just like, what is like, it seems like he doesn't understand in what an infinite set is, you know, like it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
In what way doesn't he understand it though?
Well,
Because he rejects Cantor's view of trans-infinite numbers, basically.
Yeah, transfinite sets are not numbers.
yeah, because they're not integers, right? An infinite,
yeah.
An infinite series is not an integer from which you can subtract, right? So it doesn't really make sense.
Why can't you subtract from it?
Because it's not an integer.
Why does that mean you can't subtract from it? I'm not a mathematician.
Well, you can subtract. There are operations involving integers or rational numbers and even irrational numbers with transfinite numbers. But the rules are different. The rules are different.
The whole set of natural numbers, 0, 1, 2, a completed set, why can't you do subtraction?
You can.
Why?
Why couldn't you?
Well, he says that it's just a rule imposed because you get contradicted.
No, he's wrong.
Why do you say we can't? So
it makes sense to perform operations like that on things that aren't integers.
Right. So if you think there's an actual infinite of historic events, what is stopping people from doing math with them? I don't understand.
Well, there's nothing stopping it.
So then you accept then that with this infinite past series of events that you do get contradiction.
No, you don't.
I don't look. I'm saying I don't think that you can do arithmetic with actual infinities, in the sense that it doesn't make sense to me to say that you're not subtracting from an integer. And an infinity is not an integer.
But these are rules that we're imposing. Correct. These are rules we're imposing.
But what I'm understanding subtraction to be is to remove some quantity from some other sum, right? But it's not the case that there's any sum. There's no end to it. There's no total from which you're removing anything from.
Then that's not an actual infinite. That's just a potential infinite.
No, there is no total. It's infinite. It's not a sum. It's not an integer.
Yeah, the rules are just different. That's all.
Well, those are our rules.
But that doesn't. Oh, well, there aren't any other rules than our rules.
Right, but we can do subtraction. It just yields contradictory results. Therefore, we don't do these operations.
I don't.
No, there are operations between infinite sets, right?
Not inverse operations.
I'm sorry?
Not inverse operations. You don't do division. You don't do subtraction with them.
Yeah, you can do subtraction when it comes to infinite sets.
So what is infinity minus 12?
Infinity.
What is infinity minus all the numbers above 12?
Infinity.
No, it's 11.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. If you're talking about the set of positive integers.
Right, and in both cases you minused infinity from infinity. That's why it's contradictory.
No. What?
In both cases we subtracted infinity from the number. From the sum. We subtracted
the set of numbers. The set of numbers from 12 and greater is a different set than the set of natural numbers.
But it's infinity.
But they're different sets.
Fine, but you're still minusing the same number out from the same number. Infinity.
Not a number.
It's not a number, and they're different.
Infinity is not an infinite set is not a number.
Okay. Well, I mean, what is so? I know there are different kinds of infinity. Do those two have different names?
Well, infinite transfinite numbers are ordered by their cardinality.
Sure. So what is the? You just said those are two different numbers. Then we just minused infinity.
No, they're
from
not numbers. They're sets. They're not
okay,
numbers. They're sets.
in both cases we subtracted infinity from infinity. So what was the different? What was the different identity of the two infinities we subtracted?
Well, the difference was 11, wasn't it?
But what, like in transfinite arithmetic, what is the identity of each of these infinites?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, like that you have a particular symbol for a potential infinite. You have a particular numerical symbol for complete set of natural numbers. You have a different symbol for all the sets of those different sets. Like, so I'm asking you what is the difference between those two infinities that we have subtracted from infinity?
I'm not sure I would know. Maybe somebody else.
I believe the correct answer is who cares?
Well, infinite sets and the operations are really fascinating and interesting and enjoyable to read. I've enjoyed reading about them. They're very interesting. So I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with them. It's really fun.
So if we're bored enough with this, just entertain me real quick. So what's 1 plus infinity?
Infinity.
And
I don't
then,
know if you're asking me or the other guy.
Well, Brenda or Angstreich. So if we have 1 plus infinity and we come out with infinity, what happens if we subtract infinity then? What do we get?
1. Well, you know it.
Well, subtraction isn't well defined.
Yeah, subtraction isn't defined. Yes, you're right. I forgot all about that.
You can get any result depending how you word it.
So we've got somebody here who actually knows the math. Take it away.
I'm just curious. I mean, if it equals 0, there's going to be a problem.
Well, the way the arithmetic operations are extended to possibly infinite sets is, addition is by having a coproduct or a discriminant union. Basically like tag with a set that's just 0 and 1. Have the first one be 0, the second set be 1. So it's 0x where x comes from the first set, and then 1y where y comes from the second set, right? It's a union of those things. So that's the addition. Multiplication is just x and y, where x comes from the first set and y comes from the second set. And when you form sets like that, you take their cardinalities or sort of equivalence classes under bijection to make them stand for numbers in a way. But there isn't really a set operation that you can have stand for subtraction like that. So,
are you like a mathematician or a really interested layperson, or what is your background?
I was a math major in college.
Do you think an actual infinite of past events could exist?
Sure.
An actual infinite of discrete identical length intervals?
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, so just as an aside, I think this argument sinks Craig too, because he believes God has middle knowledge of all counterfactuals and all of the future, so he would have to know an actual things too. So I don't see how that helps his view. He would just say that they don't exist, but I don't see how, because the past doesn't exist anymore.
Well, when Craig says God has all mental knowledge and stuff, that implies that there is no free will, right?
No, not on his view. On his view.
No, but it necessarily implies it, wouldn't it?
No, because he's a Molinist.
How could he know? How could he know what? So tomorrow I'm going to get up.
Sorry,
minute,
just there's one point I just before
ahead.
you go on. He tries to get around that by saying that God's knowledge is not propositional. So if God's knowledge is not propositional, then he doesn't have to actually.
Are you sure propositional is the right word?
Yeah.
What's non-propositional knowledge?
Because he says God knows the truth value of all propositions. So how is it not propositional?
He thinks that what God knows is one thing, right? And
that's quite a restriction to put on God, right? That's like just as bad as the.
No one gonna let him finish what he says, or what is that?
It's okay. This guy's not an asshole. I don't claim to understand the view. I'm just telling you that he thinks that I think the way that he puts it is that God has some kind of like acquaintive knowledge of the unity of all propositions, right? And it's only within human minds that propositions can be looked at like atomically, right? But God just knows one thing, and it's not actually a set. It's not actually an infinite set. Right? Now, I'm not saying that the view makes sense or that I could defend the view. I'm just saying that's how he tries to respond to that objection.
Yeah, it sounds like a placeholder. We don't know, but here's.
I'm not sympathetic to it at all myself, but I'm just saying that's how he tries to. I mean, Craig goes to extreme lengths to defend the Kalam. I mean, it's kind of interesting because a lot of people will adopt unusual views in order to, say, defend their belief in the existence of God or defend their belief in naturalism, right? But Craig doesn't actually adopt these views because there's a problem in him believing in God. He adopts them because there's a problem with him, with the Kalam working if he doesn't adopt them. So even though he claims to have like 20 other arguments for the existence of God, he's adopted like about, I don't know, at least 5 very unorthodox views just in order for the Kalam to work. Or at least that's my interpretation, right?
I think that's because he's committed to the A theory of time, and so I mean, you may say because it's his baby theory that he's started out with, but he might just be.
It's not his theory.
Well, he developed it.
And lots of people believe in the A theory of time, and lots of them are theists, but nobody has the set of views that Craig has in order to defend the Kalam.
Well, which ones are you talking about?
So he rejects the existence of actual infinites.
Lots of people too, but yeah.
He accepts A theory, right? So those are both minority views, right? Another minority view.
Wait. Says who? Wait.
Oh my God.
Another minority
if you want to lay the whole thing out, go ahead. I'm trying to interact and understand.
Another minority view is that God's knowledge is not propositional, right? Another minority view that he has is that God is atemporal sans creation and enters time with creation. Now, he literally was the only philosopher who held that view. As far as I know, there was no historical precedent for that view. Although I think one other philosopher that I know of, he's a professional philosopher, he's persuaded of that view. So there's 2 philosophers, as far as I know, like in the world, who hold that view. And then, hold on a second. I have it written down. I'm trying to remember what the 5th one is. Let me just look it up.
So B3, he's not talking right now. Now is the time when you usually jump in.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of things to go over now. It'd be better to do one by.
Oh, you're screwed now. You just can't say anything. Well, that's.
Oh, I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, it's too much. I agree. It was just.
Well, the second one
It was no. Whoa. It was just too much. Hold on. Let me.
Oh yeah, the
lay down.
Neo-Laurentian.
The same thing over and over again. I said, no. You know,
Yeah.
I said, I got it. And then I guess it was Angstreich, the loser. He would just go on. I started timing it.
Yeah, the Neo-Laurentian view of time. That's the fifth.
Are you claiming that a minority of philosophers or scientists or what don't believe in?
Oh, I thought you forgot everything.
Actual infinites don't exist.
Oh yeah, that's an extreme minority view.
So, where do these other philosophers or mathematicians say that actual infinites do exist?
I don't think that anybody. I think it's a minority view among philosophers, right? That there's some logical problem with the idea of actual infinites exist.
Do you know of any philosopher who believes there are actual infinites in existence?
I'm sure there are many people who are not nominalists, right? Who believe that the set of all true propositions exists, for example.
Right.
And also there's a difference between believing that there's no logical contradiction.
But they don't believe that those
they
are
exist.
concrete objects.
Those are two different things, right?
Those people who believe they're abstract, not that they're concrete.
Well, I thought that Craig's argument was that absolute infinities could not possibly be instantiated.
Right, in concrete objects. He doesn't believe in abstract objects as existing in some real sense, like in some realm.
Yeah, but see, the point is that the reason why he rejects the idea that God can have infinite, can believe in infinite number of propositions is because of his commitment to the idea that there are no absolute infinites.
Right, and that's not going to be a problem for someone who doesn't believe in God, because a human's not going to be able to an actual.
Well, the point is, if you're not a nominalist, right, you can still believe that there are an infinity of true propositions.
Not concrete, though.
No, not if.
I don't even know if that would be a problem.
Not if you're a Platonist. I mean.
Yeah, he does hold a few oddball views here because he's delved into this. Like most philosophers who you're considering, like if they were surveyed, aren't.
What I'm saying is that there's plenty of people who've adopted unorthodox views in order to defend their belief in God, right? So, for instance, people like Richard Swinburne believe that God is contingent, right? And they've adopted open theism. They take the first horn of the Euthyphro dilemma, right? I think Van Inwagen affirms some kind of materialism about the created world and so forth, right? So there's all kinds of surprising views that philosophers take in response to atheological objections, right? But the positions that Craig has taken that I itemized, right, don't actually threaten his belief in the existence of God, right? They threaten the validity of the Kalam. So he's adopted all those views, right, in light of the objections that were made to the Kalam. So it's because he wants the Kalam to be a good argument that he has these crazy views about God.
When you call him crazy, it's like in this context, most views are going to be strange.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that what's crazy about it is that it's only because he's attached. Well, my interpretation is that it's only because he's attached to the argument that he's had to actually revise his concept of God, right? Whereas I think most people would say, well, maybe I don't actually need to rely on this argument, right? If commits me to all these unusual views. I can just drop the argument and argue for the existence of God on the basis of other arguments.
Right, but you might get just as bad problems that way. Like
I don't know, Craig.
How would someone other than Craig explain God's relationship to time before and after the universe? Like, you're going to have problems on any view.
Well, I think
really.
that there might be problems on any view. What's interesting is that Craig has a view that nobody else has, right? And he formulated it just because, right, it was the only way to make the Kalam work, or at least that's what
I mean, he's an analytical philosopher in the modern arena defending that argument, so he's putting forward plausible scenarios. See how that's...
Well, I don't think he's saying, yeah, you know, it could be the case that this is, right, God's relation to time. I don't think that's what he's saying. He's endorsing the view, right? He's saying God entered time with creation, right? Whatever that means.
That is his belief.
Yeah, I don't think it's a view that makes any sense. But the point is, what's so interesting about that was that he didn't adopt that view in light of some objection to the coherence of a God and the relation to time. It was in light of an objection, right, that arose in relation to defending the Kalam, right? And so if he dropped the Kalam, it's just not clear to me that he'd have to adopt a view like that.
Yeah, he might be so attached to it because that's like what he built his early career on. That's possible.
Yeah, that's precisely the.
I'm not going to assume he's dishonest.
That I'm offering.
He might believe it. So I mean, it could be one or the other.
Well, I'm not saying that he's dishonest. I'm just saying that it's extremely strange.
Yeah, but there's guys like Don, what's his name, Don Page, who's a B theorist, and he holds to very oddball views that the infinite multiverse that God is involved in. Once you're doing analytical philosophy on God's relation to time, you're going to come up with all types of problems.
Well, see, I think the thing is the reason why I find it disturbing is because it just seems like he's involved in some kind of motivated reason.
Sure, but I've read the arguments between him and other philosophers on the Kalam, and they take views that are just as wild. If I can remember any, I'll come up.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anybody who has as strange a view as the idea that God was atemporal sans creation and then enters time with creation.
Well, I think Craig would argue that believing in an actual infinite of events is just as ludicrous as that, or it's just as hard of...
I know that he argues that. I'm just not clear that he has a successful argument of that type.
I think when you get down to these baseline premises, you can't appeal to anything to say, like, you just decide personally which premises are plausible. What can you appeal to?
I'm not really talking about plausibility so much as the idea of coherence or intelligibility.
You think it's incoherent, his view of God's relation to time?
Yeah.
What's incoherent about?
Because it implies a change of state.
Why is that incoherent?
There can't be a change of state with respect to an atemporal entity.
Okay. Well, I mean, lots of people on the other side, like Lawrence Krauss, think that the universe was in some atemporal pre-classical state, and then the universe popped into classical. So it's not.
I don't want to have to try to defend the coherence of Lawrence Krauss's views.
But
I would sooner defend Craig's view.
Hey, Jack, one quick question. Can I ask Jack one quick question? Time Bandits. What do you think, Jack?
Well, it's a Terry Gilliam movie. I like Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Okay. So thumbs up for you to watch it, eh?
Did you ever see...
I saw Eric Idle a couple months ago. So now I've seen 3 out of the well, what is it, 6 pythons in person.
Did you ever see Tideland?
Sorry, it was John Cleese last time I spoke to you. You went and saw. So
yeah, I saw John Cleese, and I had seen Palin once before, and I just saw Idle a month or 2 after I saw Cleese. I'm sorry, what did you ask, Brenda? I didn't.
I asked if you'd ever seen Tideland.
No, but I'm trying to remember. Is that a Terry Gilliam film?
That's Terry Gilliam. Yes, it's the little girl.
Yeah, that was, I think, the last film that got released, but I didn't get to see it. It didn't play at a theater that I like. Well, I'm gonna have to pick up with that.
Thanks for mentioning that. I haven't seen it either. I'll gotta mark that.
It's exceptionally surreal, I think would be a way to put it. I liked it.
Yeah, I have a friend who loved it, so I definitely want to.
I don't know about love, but well, it has it. Yeah, there's an emotional resolution. There's some resolution at the end, so I guess
Same thing like if you're